there's already tools in development that will be able to spit out a perfectly optimized SEO article with undetectable content in a single button press. And that's going to change everything. That's going to change everything in terms of like what SEO professionals are doing and content producers, content websites, all this stuff. That's going to change the whole landscape of how you get your job done. And if everyone has content on autopilot, if everyone can produce 500 articles per month, how's Google, and they're all SEO optimized, like how's Google going to figure out who wins, and how should you what should you focus on in order to make sure you're the winner if you and other people are using AI content? Well, the first is, if everyone's producing 500 articles per month, then you need to know what you need to write, right? So if I'm producing so much, I need to know what's next. And I always need to have a flow of what to write next, because I'm producing it so fast. And so this is this concept called topical authority. Now, if you write one article on VPNs, Google doesn't give a shit. Like, that's great. You wrote an article on VPNs. It doesn't mean you're an authority on that topic. But when you start to write all the articles on VPNs, then you become a topical authority. And so I think a big skill set that people need to know is how to figure out all these topics, how to build a topical map of your entire niche. Because if everyone's building content, if you're the guy that covers all of it, you're the one that's going to win, right? Another thing is, interlinking. You got 500 new articles per month on your site. How do you interlink them together? I mean, it's a big mess, right? And you got to figure out, like, I'm sure you can do enough to make sure not every page is orphaned and on its own, but how do you do it logically in a way that's going to give you the best result on Google? And then the oldest deciding factor on Google, and I'm sure this is going to remain a big decision maker, is backlinks, right? Backlinks has always been Google's way to determine which websites are the best. And if you think about something like this, think about like the keyword best meatloaf recipe. Like, how different can meatloafs be, right? Ground beef and whatever, the ketchup type red sauce, I don't know what it is,
Beef
but
and
they're all
ketchup.
basically the same. Yeah. So if all these meatloafs are basically the same, how do you determine which wins? Well, which website has more backlinks? And we assume that this one is referenced the most and people like it the most, so this one will be number one. So like all these things, and also like this one isn't a deciding factor yet, right? There's this concept of EAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. It comes up in Google's quality rater guidelines and a lot right now. So the idea is that they want content to be written by people with experience and expertise in the craft. They've got degrees or whatever, but there's no way that the algorithm can detect this. Google's not here to make judgment calls. Like Kyle Roof put it nicely. If two articles are written and they're both really, really good, one's written by a guy from Harvard and one's written by a guy from Brown, which one wins? Like, Google's not in the position to make that kind of decision, at least algorithmically. But if they do figure out a way to determine, like, okay, this article has a ton of EEAT signals, that will make a big difference on whether or not content looks like it's written by a human and versus AI. And I think people will choose the human almost every time in this case. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to think about in terms of like what's going to happen if everyone's producing a lot of content, but topical authority, interlinking, link building, and like how to think about the next step when Google is actually algorithmically able to detect EAT. Is this stuff scary? Yeah, but only if you're unadaptable. Think about this as like, this is like the advent of WordPress, right? Like, your HTML coder guys who are building websites from scratch saw this WordPress thing coming out. They're like, holy crap, everyone's going to be able to produce a website. I'm out of a job. And so, yeah, of course you are. They're all out of a job. No one builds websites with HTML anymore. So what are you going to do to ride this wave? How can you become awesome at AI? How can you become a power user? And you will, I think we're going to see huge growth in the industry and entrepreneurship for the people that are able to ride this wave.